Welcome to the session. My name is Paul McGuinness. I'm going to take you through this Megaport Live tech drop-in today. So thank you for joining. First, I'm just going to do a level setter, a little bit about Megaport Network as a Service. Um, Megaport provides a private network deployed globally that you can consume in a nice, easy way. You can do real-time provisioning through the Megaport portal to create private connectivity between data centers, connectivity to cloud, internet exchange, internet connectivity, firewalling, virtual routing, lots of different elements that you'd expect from a premium network as a service provider is available at your fingertips through the Megaport portal or through our APIs. You're in control of what you build. You pay for what you provision on the network, and you can do all of that immediately. So how is the Megaport network deployed? It's basically it lives inside data center operators around the world. So the numbers that you see on these images here are the numbers of data centers where Megaport has our services deployed in lots of different locations around the world. So we're using a cookie cutter approach, a common deployment model inside lots of different data center operators. And this makes it easy for you to come and meet Megaport in a data center and then physically connect to the Megaport network. Once you've physically connected to us in a data center, you can then reach any other location or any other service available on the Megaport network. If you don't wish to connect physically to Megaport, you can just use our services in a virtual way. For example, if you needed virtual routing between two cloud providers or a virtual firewall, you can spin that up in many locations around the world and then connect that to other things without actually meeting us in a data center. Those options are covered in other presentations on other tech surgeries that are available on YouTube. Today, I'm going to talk about hybrid cloud and more so about the actual port function, which we call a megaport here at Megaport. We'll start off talking about hybrid cloud. In hybrid cloud, and this is a very typical service from Megaport, a customer is going into the Megaport portal. You're provisioning a port at 10 gig or 100 gig. That port is then immediately available to you. It's in one of our over 800 data centers around the world, nearly 900 data centers now. And once you provision that port, it belongs to you. We'll give you a letter of authorization that shows you exactly where that port is located. And then you can order a cross connect from your data center provider. That usually takes about 2 days. But once the cross connect is in place, you can then connect to, as shown here, multiple different cloud providers. But not only that, if we take a step back and not just talk about cloud and see what else can you connect this port into, then we're looking at an image like this. This port is a highly flexible service that allows you to have up to 100 connections or 100 VLANs from this port to other things that are available across the Megaport network. So like we said already, you can connect to cloud providers, Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google, Oracle, IBM, Salesforce, Wasabi. All of these are available and many more immediately on the Megaport network. These cloud providers are pre-provisioned by Megaport, so you do not have to worry about the cross connect into those cloud providers. You just create a virtual connection from the physical port, wherever it may be, to whichever cloud provider connectivity point that you want. So you can choose to connect to any cloud provider on-ramp anywhere in the world if you want to. Then what about other things that you can connect to the physical port that you've got connected in a data center? Well, you can connect to other ports that you also have on the network, and these can be anywhere in the world. So I'll do a demo today with a port in London. If you want to connect to a port in Singapore, or Australia, or the US, you can do that. Again, it's a similar process on the other side. You'll need a port with a cross connect in that data center. But the piece between the two ports, that's all taken care of by Megaport's network as a service. You provision a connection between the two ports. You choose the VLAN that you want, you choose the data rate that you want, and then within 1 minute, you've got that data rate between the two ports. And that can be speeds of up to 100 gigabits per second or as small as 1 megabit per second. You can turn that up and down to suit your own needs as well. It's highly flexible. So what other things can you connect into the Megaport port that you've provisioned here on the left? Well, you can also connect to our marketplace partners. We have over 350 marketplace partners who are available. You can search through them with lots of different types of service, including, internet transit or SIP services, internet services, for example, as well in there. And these are, again, already available. They're ready to go, and you can connect across to them. We also offer internet services and internet exchange services. They're two separate offerings there, but if you need to get internet into your data center, then we can make that offering there as well. And then in addition, you can connect this port to other functions that you've already deployed on the Megaport network. That might be some virtual routing in the form of a Megaport Cloud Router. Again, that could be anywhere around the world. And you can also connect into a Megaport Virtual Edge as well. So this could be an edge element hosting a Cisco virtual router. It could be a Palo Alto or a Fortinet firewall running on that virtual edge. It could be an SD-WAN collector from Cisco Viptela, from Versa, from VMware. Lots of different options available there as well. This port can be oversubscribed as well, because I mentioned already you can have 100 virtual cross connects or 100 VLANs on this port. It is an 802.1q VLAN trunk port. You can do Q and Q with it as well. Talk to a solution architect if you need more information on that. Okay, so let's go across to the portal and do a quick demo to show you what that looks like. So here we have a global view of the data centers that Megaport has deployed. Get this automatically if you sign up for a portal account. Here we've got some blue pins where we've got some services already deployed. So I've got a virtual router that I spun up yesterday in this data center in Ashburn. I've got a port here in London, and over in Singapore, I've got another port. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to focus on this one port here in London. So if I just, we can zoom in on that and I can show you where this is. We've got multiple locations in London. This is in Telehouse North. So the port is available here and I can start making connections from that port to other things. Bigger. We have various different options and we'll run through some of these today. So for example, if I want to connect this port to other ports around the world, I can just select private VXC. Here we can see this port I have in Singapore. I can go ahead and give it a name. So this is port to port VXC. Okay, I can give it a rate limit. I can give it 1 gig. I can assign VLAN tags to it. Megaport will translate the VLAN tags from AN to BN and make that. So that's all I have to do to create a connection from this port across to the other port in Singapore. Let's also create a connection from this port to a virtual router. So we've got this virtual router sitting in Ashburn. You could imagine that this router is connected to Microsoft Azure and it's also connected to AWS in Ashburn. So it's doing multi-cloud over there, but we're also going to connect it back to the port in a data center in London. Let's do that. We give it a name. This is port to MCR. It's a virtual connect again. Give that to the MCR is 5 gig in size. In this case, we can have a larger one if we want to, but we're just going to create a 1 gig connection. We can decide on the VLAN IDs there as well. We can put in the IP addressing and BGP information later, and we're just going to add that VXC. So there you can see these virtual cross connects. They're sitting in the shopping cart. I can go ahead and order them quite quickly. So that goes through. We're deploying that now. And if I just zoom out, we can now see that we've created this virtual cross connect across to the virtual router in Ashburn and also to the port all the way over here in Singapore. Okay. And these can be, like I said, numerous times, any to any. So what else can we do with this port? Let's have a look. So if we go in again, look at the connection area, we can also create connectivity to any of the cloud providers that we have. So we've got Outscale here, Alibaba, AWS, IBM, Microsoft Azure, Nutanix, Oracle, Wasabi. These are all available for connectivity that can happen immediately. The cloud side is already done, so we can just connect it here. Now, even though this port is in London, I can connect it to any of the AWS on-ramps around the world. Let's just connect this across to Germany, for example, and we'll select Frankfurt. We'll give it a name. So this is a VXC to AWS. We can choose a data rate up to 10 gig. Let's just choose a 500 meg data rate there. And then we can give it a VLAN ID. And then we give it our AWS account ID so that we know where to direct that interface. Okay, now we've got another VXC there waiting ready to go. Another thing that we can connect in here is internet. So if we want to connect Megaport internet into this port to give you internet services in that data center, we can select one of the 2 different zones that we have here in London, blue or red, and we can create that connection. So I'm just going to give that again a 1 gig internet connection, a VLAN ID, and then we're going to click next on that. Incidentally, if I didn't select VLAN ID, it would be automatically assigned for you. So you can now see we're building up the virtual cross connects on this port. The internet one is harder to see because it's more local in London. So it's only going a short distance there. So we can zoom in and out to see that connection. And then if we go in, have just a final look at some other things that we can deploy before we wrap up here. We can connect into the Megaport marketplace. So if we go into the marketplace here, we can see all of the marketplace providers that are already connected to Megaport. And it could be, anything from, public services from Microsoft, for example. It could be Cloudflare. Lots of different types of operators are available on here, and they are pre-connected and ready to go. Akamai, for example, on there as well. Other things that you can do as well are connect to third parties who are on the Megaport network. So if you want to connect into anyone on the ecosystem or create your own ecosystem, you can enter a service key. So basically the other party in this case would create the service key, give it to you, you enter the service key, and then you can create a connection from your port across to their service wherever that is in the world at the data rate that you need. So it's private connectivity between 2 parties without you having to, swap devices or get a special, leased line between your 2 different locations. And then you could imagine that you can build up an ecosystem with that as well. If you wanted, you could create your own service key for this port. So if I go into this port, I can view that in the services window. So this is the port that we're looking at. I can go and create my own keys in here, and I can give that to other third parties that I want to allow to connect through the port to my locations in the data center. This is just a slightly different view of what we've provisioned so far. We can see the Megaport port here at the top that we're talking about. This one happens to be a 100 gig port. We've connected that to the MCR in Reston. We've connected it to the port, which happens to be in Digital Realty in Singapore, and also off to AWS in Frankfurt, and also Megaport Internet there as well. So that kind of gives you a quick view of the power really of a Megaport port and all of the things that you can do with it. If you do have any questions with that, or you need to talk over anything with Solution Architect, please do get in touch, and please join the next tech drop-in session, or watch them back on YouTube as well. My name is Paul McGuinness. Thank you for joining this session.